Tommy with Duncan Lake Speech Therapy, and I'm really excited this week because we're going to talk about my favorite topic, inclusion. And who better to talk about inclusion than my friend here? Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Cassie Peereboom, and Tommy and I actually work together at Wayland. She is the speech pathologist for the students that I work with. So I work in a self-contained classroom for middle school students who all have special needs. So my students are with me all day long. Yeah, and I've been in Wayland for 10 years, but in every building and every grade level, I've been all over the place. So I've seen inclusion done lots of different ways. And yeah, Tommy just saw me doing it at the middle school and is like, hey, let's talk about this because it's fantastic.
Boom has quite the big heart, I will say. She does a lot with her kids, and she does a lot to promote inclusivity around the district. So I'm really excited to have her here to talk about what she's doing and things that we can do, especially while we're at home right now, to be more inclusive. So do you want to give our friends a little overview of what it is that you do at Wayland to promote inclusivity?
Sure. So, first of all, inclusion, just so that we're all on the same page, is helping students without disabilities learn what disabilities are and also how to interact with those students. I think there's a really big fear around what disabilities are, and when people are afraid of things, they don't know how to interact with them. So I think a huge thing with inclusion is breaking down that barrier of fear that, yes, people with disabilities are different, but they don't have to be scary. And so kind of working towards everybody being included and being able to learn and make friends. So that's kind of the definition of inclusion that I'm going from. As far as at Wayland, so we started doing a program called Peer-to-Peer about 2 years ago, and that's where you are specifically training students without disabilities to interact with students with disabilities. You teach them this is what a disability is, this is how it presents itself, and then they make connections and friends through that. So currently, we have a group of kids who sit in the cafeteria with the students in my class, and there's other students too, it's not just my class, but they sit at the cafeteria at lunch, and sometimes it's just modeling this is what a middle school student does at lunch, and just showing this is how we wait in line, this is how we get our food, and just being a part of everybody else. So I have a group of kids that do that. I also have a smaller group of kids who push into my class every hour, so they're getting kind of a different view of what special needs looks like and how they learn. So when they push into my class, I treat them like I would any of my other students. I say, here's your worksheet, you need to get going. And so there's a lot of that learning by modeling happening. And then as part of the class that they're in with me, I give them videos and training tutorials on what disabilities are. And then they have to write reflections about what they're learning about disabilities. And then one thing that we tried this year that I'm super, super excited about, and it's been working really well, we are doing a co-taught inclusion social studies class. And so we took all of these students who have disabilities, and most of my students are not diploma track, so some of them are quite low. I mean, we're in a middle school, and some of them are at a first or second grade level, so they're quite low. So we had this crazy idea to expose them to more gen ed curriculum and to do a co-taught class with another social studies teacher. And so the social studies teacher pretty much does all the teaching for social studies, but then I modify all the assignments for the kids in my class so that they can interact with the material too. So those are kind of the things that I've been doing with inclusion.
I just have to speak to this co-taught social studies class. So the students from Cassie's class are interacting with students in gen ed with the actual curriculum that they teach, which is like a super inclusive practice, and it's not one that we see very often, or I just haven't personally seen done with the fidelity and the integrity of what you're doing. And I just find that to be really admirable, in the fact that the school is really on board with it. So it's been really great for the kids. And research shows that the more inclusive practices a school has, we see reduced rates of bullying. We see like bigger acts of kindness. I know Cassie can go down a list of different things that the kids have done of their own volition because of inclusive practices like this.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And being inclusive, it benefits all the parties. Like for me, it's so rewarding to see these other kids interacting. It's super rewarding for me to see some of my lowest functioning students, that came weird, are like able to take notes in class now, and they weren't able to do that 6 months ago. So there's just some really cool benefits, and to see some of the kids without disabilities being like, oh yeah, I brag to my friends that I get to go in this class because it's my favorite class of the day, and it's just really great. There's benefits all around for being inclusive and learning how to be inclusive,
which I love and appreciate, which is why you're here today. I am super excited because right now it's kind of hard to be inclusive at all because we're being extremely exclusive, you know, as we should be right now. I'm totally down. But there are things that we can do at home right now to be inclusive while practicing social distancing. So I'm going to let you take it away on this.
Absolutely. So a couple of things that I thought about. If you are a teacher or work in a school in some way, and this is something that's really interesting to you, we're going to put some links in the comments or something for you to go check out. There's a website called the GVSU Start Project, and it's all free materials, and I only clicked the one link for peer-to-peer if you're interested in starting a program like that at your school. So I'd really encourage you to check that out and to just learn what starting a program would look like.
And we have lots of time to do that right now. So if you're interested, we have time. So please do that.
And so with that one link, you like it's such a huge website. It's very easy to get lost in it. So I put one specific, but if you're interested and curious, click around because there's lots of resources on that website. Another thing you can do is just learn in general. And parents, you can teach your kids what disabilities are and how sometimes their friends act differently. And there's a reason for that. And so we are also including a couple of links. One is more of like an elementary link. It's a Sesame Street explaining what autism is and how it looks. And then there's kind of a middle school, high school version, just explaining this is what a disability is. The thing with doing peer-to-peer through the START project is it's exclusive to autism because it's grant-based, so it had to have a specific disability to it. However, it's not specific to just autism. The strategies that you use for peer-to-peer with autism also work for students who have cognitive impairments and emotional impairments and learning disabilities and
physical disabilities, you know, emotional disabilities.
Yes. Any sort of disability. It all works. They just label it all autism. So I'd really encourage you to learn for yourself as a parent, even as a friend. Like, ask your kids in school. Ask your kids, do you have any friends who have special needs? What does that look like? Do you want to make them a card? Do you want to draw them a picture? I think teachers would be really willing to help bridge that gap of inclusivity right now and just say, hey, you know, so-and-so is my friend and they're having a hard time right now because, you know what, the students with disabilities are having a hard time right now too, and they're off their routine and they don't get to see their normal friends. So anything you can do to just reach out to them and show them that you're thinking about them is going to be beneficial. But yeah, I really think the just biggest thing is make a plan. One of the biggest mottos that I've used in peer-to-peer is ready, fire, aim. And which I love that motto because that's so what it is. Like, you're ready to go, you want to try something, you don't know where to start, so you pick one thing and you try it, and if it works, that's great. If it doesn't work, you tweak it and you try something new. So it's this constant ebb and flow of ready, fire, aim. Well, we got to try something. This isn't working. So I would just really encourage right now, when we're all quarantined, to get in that ready, fire stage. Like, make a plan for what you want to do when you get back to school to move forward in this peer-to-peer or inclusion process.
And there are lots of opportunities to do some learning right now. I know Cassie just talked a lot about autism and the spectrum. Today is actually National, I don't know if it's National World, it's Cerebral Palsy Awareness Day. It was just World Down Syndrome Day. So there's a ton of information out there, and there's factual information out there. You know, sometimes when we get a little worried about the internet, we're going to find something, you know, that's not very factual, but there's tons of stuff out there. So just take a little peek and do some learning while you're at home. You might as well.
Might as well. And I think, you know, as parents, you can model having an inclusive relationship. You know, like, for example, just the other day, my kids and I were at the grocery store, and there was somebody in the store who clearly had some sort of disability. And so I was just polite to him and talked to him like I would anybody else. And then my kids came up to me afterwards and they said, "Mom, he probably had a disability, huh?" I said, "Yep, he probably did." And they said, "But that doesn't make him any different than us. It's just he learns in a different way." Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, instead of, I think, labeling people weird or
not talking about it at all, not addressing it at all.
Right. Like, to do address it and say, "You know what, honey? Yeah, they might have some sort of a disability, and that's okay. It just means they learn in a different way than you do." And
so while you're at home, we'll just recap real quick. What are some things you can do to start some inclusive practices in your life? 1, do some learning, and we'll provide some links for that. 2, take a look at that peer-to-peer program that Cassie was talking about. If you're affiliated at all with the schools and have any interest in this, take a look at that and see if that's something you might be interested in starting at your school. And 3, model those inclusive practices to the young people in your life. That's a great way to start. And so when we do get back to school, we can continue on this inclusive path and be with each other again, which would be great.
Right.
It'd be really great to get back to some normal routine. But anyway, I digress.
For sure.
Well, anyway, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to comment. We're here to answer. Thank you, Cassie, for coming and talking to us today. I miss seeing you. I miss our Mondays together. Oh, I can't wait till we can go back. So.
Me too.
All right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you later.